Welcome to our weekly market analysis. This analysis for August 31st, 2024 is the end of August and end of the week. So I hope everyone has had a wonderful weekend. I'll start with this little cartoon. All the expectations about the rate cuts, making the markets excited. And we have Chairman Powell has already indicated that he will be cutting rates. They are ready for that. So again, the bulls are saying I'm putting it all on rate cut. So that's the expectations, and we'll see how the markets will react as when this thing happens, which is the markets are expecting on September 18th. So this week, what we are gonna look at, the events that you want to consider, some of the things that happened last week, and most of them are upcoming, is number one is a Labor Day weekend. The markets are closed. The futures market will open Sunday evening. They will have a short session on Monday, but this is the day that everybody is generally off in the market. So it is a Labor Day, and I wish everyone a great day on that day. It's in United States and Canada. Number two, we are arriving at September. September's generally are not a very favorable months to the market, which we will review in lesson of the week. This coming week is also it's important Friday data point where the markets will pay attention. Again, they are looking at the job data. They want to see what the non-farm payroll, the earnings will what guidance they will give to the Fed, and should there be worry about the recession, for instance. Also, it's been a fantastic ride for the financials. We will look at financial versus tech in our trade of the week and see what's going on. Last Friday, we had the PCE, which is the personal consumption expenditure, which is the favorite number for the indicator for the inflation for the Fed, and it came even better than expected on annual basis. It met the core was not as good month over month. The PC itself, it met, but it was year over year, which was favorable. And the markets really, the first few minutes they reacted, and after that they had their own mind till end of the day. When we had end of the month, I would say window dressing. Remember, this is August, and in August generally it's a lower volume, and any news can get exaggerated. So again, September is coming after Labor Day weekend. We will have the serious trader coming back. We also, last week, we talked about NVIDIA's earnings coming up. So they did. The markets reacted. We had said that we were waiting for NVIDIA and the markets will go up. They just had that news. Of course, NVIDIA went down, but the markets finished the week strong. So basically, we'll look at that and dive in the stock of the week about NVIDIA. In our lesson of the week, also, we're going to look at the Chinese market. What is happening? How is it affecting copper? This real estate has been a big problem, and China's trying any angle to kind of reduce the pressure. So the last but not least is end of August. So as always, we look at end of the month report and look at our stocks of the month, how they have been doing since we have talked about them. So let's start with the economy. Again, the last week, the most important thing was that the PCE, which we talked about the expectations. And again, it was year over year, which was favorable. Also, we had the consumer sentiment. The finals came a little better than expected. This coming week, as I mentioned, Friday, we would be looking forward to our non-farm payroll. Canada also has its employment numbers coming up. So basically, we will pay attention to that. So as you know, the unemployment rate has creeped up on the United States. We hit the 4.2, 4.3. The forecast is actually going lower. So that's upcoming week. Again, we see the steepness from 5 to 30-year in our yield curve. We still have a very, we look at this, it's getting flatter and flatter. And finally, I think this is as flat as you can see. The inverted yield curve has resolved itself after almost 3 years. So what kind of a week we'd had? Well, our week, the Dow was up almost 1%. S&P was up about 0.25%, and NASDAQ was down. But as a whole, again, the market finished the month of August strongly. August, we had talked about, is generally volatile and is not a good month for the markets, except on the election years, they do well, and this was no appointment. In average, they go up 1.4%. So we were beyond that, actually. So also, gold was down, especially Friday. We will review that. We will talk about gold and trade of the week as well. Copper was up slightly, and crude oil was down. We'll discuss it in the charts, what is happening. So the Dow, actually, on August 30th, it hit the all-time high. And we'll look at what Dow is doing so well. And then and S&P came very close to its all-time closing high, and we can see that it's only August 30th, below July 16th highs. And then NASDAQ is actually the only one, again, thanks to NVIDIA. And also, we look at Microsoft, Google, and that's what we will look at in Trade of the Week. What is happening with financial versus tech? So as a whole, what we see is basically majority of the markets, except large cap value, everything was either flat or down a little bit. Again, we were, it was end of the month, and really the savior was the last hour of the markets when things started really moving. Now, the sentiment has been strong for the last 2 weeks. We are very much close to that 1-year high of December 20th. Last week, we were at 51.2. The previous week, we were at 51.6. We had a little movement from the holds to bears, but we still below the bears average. Also, not long ago, fear and greed was at extreme fear. Then we went to fear. Last week we were in neutral. Now we are in greed. So again, this is September coming. So just be aware. And also the SIG group panic, as you know, in July we've been talking about it, really hit high, and then we had a correction in the markets, and it stayed below that euphoria zone. So what are we looking at? As we've talked in the past few weeks, we see that support at 15111 really held up, and now we're really actually just very close to that all-time high. So we are still above the 8-day and 21-day and 50-day moving average. So that's strong. The question is, and we will look at even more, are we consolidating and are we getting ready for a next leg up, or it's time to get some digestion and take some profits? As you can see from the, again, short-term Fibonacci, we really, once we went to that ambush zone, how nicely we broke. And once we pass 61, generally we're very quick, and we almost hitting the top that we had in July. As far as the trend lines, as you can see, we are really consolidating. This is a big resistance. I would say almost double top. So the question is, what will happen next week? Will we break this? If we do, the 5,700 is a key round number. Will we go through that? Then we will continue, or this is time again, first couple of weeks, especially September, with our Fed September 18th meetings. Are the markets going to be jittery? Although what we can see here is from stochastic, which we will discuss, we are embedded, so still have that strength. The other thing we have to look at is, the momentum. I usually look at 8 to 12 bars and of strength, and then if it's getting a little tired, and you can see even on LRC, linear regression channel, we are in a positive one standard deviation. We are hugging that line, although we're still above the 21-day moving average. This market is a little tired, so we like that digestion. The question is, will it come back to the midline and the 21-day moving average? If it does go up, how fast it will go? Remember, we had this V-shape rebound from the support. And even when we look at Hakinashi, we see that MACD got tired right around that one standard deviation, and it has been consolidating, although momentum has been going down, and TSI also has been going down. So we had a wonderful bounce, technical bounce from the negative 2 standard deviation. Now the question is, will the profit taking happen? Again, the real money is coming back to the markets. I also want to look at the 60 minutes, and you can see we are on a 30 and 60, 100 bar LRC. We are hitting the top of the 2 standard deviation. Just a food for thought. From Bollinger Band, again, we are consolidating. We are still embedded. MACD is tired, but we still in trend is positive. So the question is, will the Bollinger Bands come together, or if they expand, then that means it will pull the markets with it. So there is no really sell signal, but I would say there is some profit-taking signal. I will take a little bit of profit, or just hold tight till September finishes, especially with the Fed's meeting. As far as the weekly we are overbought on S&P, so that gives us a little pause. We saw the 60-minute. You can see the MACD has been, very flat. It is trying to again stabilize and trying to go to positive. It's still negative, and we've had the upper edge of Bollinger Band. So the weekly, we are cautious, especially on a again, we would not put a new buys at this time. Now, NASDAQ, we talked last week, and we had hit that Bollinger, came down, but see how nicely that 100-day moving average acted as a support. 18-day just crossed, it's just flat right now. And so that's a short-term bounce, but the momentum has turned down. MACD is still positive, but it's trying to hold. So, well, it's important this coming week. Again, as you can see, NASDAQ is the weaker of all the indices in a way of last few weeks. So again, NVIDIA was also catalyst, but you see Microsoft and Google and Amazon. So when we look at Russell, on the other hand, we see the Russell has had a nice run. It has been actually winner since really, when you look back end of June, there has been some rotation going on to small caps, of course, with the expectation lower rates. And if you're in a Goldilocks environment, then that means if economy holds, and that's what this employment numbers are important, then the lower rates and good economy, or at least soft landing, that will definitely help the small caps. Now, the only thing caution is we are flattening and we're getting overbought. We'll see if on Tuesday we can come back and continue becoming embedded. Dow has also been a nice mover. We are embedded. MACD is positive, nice move above 1800. And as we will see with the Dow, one of the major reasons is it doesn't have a lot of technology stocks in it, but it does have healthcare and financials have been a key for moving the Dow, and that's why we can see we are holding nicely again. MACD and embedded in stochastics. And transportation also has been positive. We are embedded, and MACD is positive. So basically that also because of the lower gas prices and also the crude oil. So that has helped. VIX, well, we had this huge move beginning of August, if you recall. So it kind of messed up this chart, but we still, based on becoming all-time high, we are still up there. So that is something we want to pay attention. So the volatility is still with us, although we are embedded, but it's about to cross to go to oversold. The yields. The yields have been down nicely, but this past week, what happened was on Friday, actually Thursday, we just broke above the 18-day moving average. You see the Bollinger Bands are coming together, but again, with the PCE numbers, as the markets are just assuming there will be 50 basis point cut. So, but as we can see, MACD is going positive. So that the rates are actually looking at after the consolidation to move up a little more, maybe hitting that upper edge of the Bollinger Band. The opposite is true. We broke under the 18-day moving average, but on the 10-year note, we see momentum is down, MACD is down. So, but the Bollinger Bands are getting to that coiling mood. So perhaps till 18th, September 18th, we will see a lot of consolidation. And it's when we look at weekly, we see we've been hugging the 100-week moving average. So it's important to see that. Now the question is, on the stochastics, we are overbought, although MACD is still positive. On the 30-year bonds, it's very similar to the 10-year notes. We are below that 18-day moving average. And then we look at the dollar. So the dollar, we looked at that 100 zone as a support. So it came very close. We've been hugging that Bollinger Band. We've had this nice bounce. We are oversold, but we are clearing. So once the oversold has resolved itself, then generally it is the sellers will come, or the profit taking will happen in that 18-day moving average. Although MACD is trying to kiss and go to positive. So we'll see if the momentum continues. I'd like to see over 50. Otherwise, this could be just a technical bounce, and then it could go down. Again, depending on what's going to happen with the rates. And speaking of that, we see that euro is opposite. We're just about to break that 18-day moving average, and momentum is down, and MACD is crossing. And that translates that strong dollar on Friday. You see how the gold reacted. Again, the rate's going a little higher, and basically dollar getting stronger. We are consolidating. We will discuss gold a little more in the trade of the week. So right now we are in a support at 18-day. We are a little tired. Again, overbought and MACD is about to cross. So, but we are nicely above that 100-day moving average, and we've been there since February. So that's something that we might take some profits, but I don't think gold is done yet, although seasonality is coming to picture. There's still the talk about, would this be a soft landing? What is happening, the effects of the rates. So we'll see, but we are tired in gold. And then on a weekly basis, you can see we hit that upper edge of the Bollinger Band, but we are overbought, and MACD is flat. When we look at silver, silver actually broke below its 100-day moving average, and it's just right above its 18-day, but we were overbought, and our momentum is down. MACD is about to cross. And copper. So we see copper a bounce, and we are consolidating. We have gone to momentum down. We are not overbought anymore. MACD is still positive, and it goes back to the question of China. China is really trying to stimulate their property markets, and they're coming with new schemes. And as a matter of fact, as you know, in China, I mean, United States, everybody refinances. It's a very common thing, not in China. So now the government is encouraging, allowing the banks to allow the property owners start refinancing. And if they can't go in one bank, go to another one. So they're trying to stimulate, and that might be one of the reasons that copper has been a little bit, had a bounce, still weak. One of them is technical. Last 2 weeks we have talked about it. We hit that 100 week and we bounced off, and we are oversold. So we might have again technical bounce on top of that China story. Bitcoin last week we talked about that 100-day moving average, and it could not break. And that, especially after Ethereum ETFs, it has been really going nowhere. So we hit that Bollinger Band 100-day, and then we corrected. Now we are under 18-day moving average. Momentum is down, and MACD is about to cross. Crude oil again, last week we talked about it will like to hit that 100-day moving average. It did, got rejected. We were watching for that. OPEC Plus has decided to increase the production, Russia, Saudi Arabia, especially after the Libya's, mishaps, and then the cutoff of the production. So the other OPEC Plus countries, they have said that they will increase. So that will be more supplies, but also technically we see there is that resistance. And with that, we looked at the expected move. Very interesting that whole week was doing nothing. So even after NVIDIA, you would think with that earnings, the market would have sold off. Well, at the end of the week, no, they went flat to a little positive, and especially Dow. And what happened was we just broke above, tiny bit above that positive for the week. NASDAQ obviously paid the burden of this, the NVIDIA's, but still, you see Friday came close to previous Friday's close. IWM was positive, and it stayed within this expected move. Dow was the strongest, and we hit the all-time high. And guess what we did? We went right against that upper edge. And the bonds, on the other hand, the rates started increasing. And Friday, we went close below this lower edge. Gold had stayed inside, and then Friday we went to the negative by going down again. We could see the rates moving, and gold, dollar getting stronger. And then silver was the weaker of two, went right around its just a tiny bit under its expected move. The financials, you look at this big move. What is happening? And we'll discuss it in the trade of the week. Close above an all-time high on its expected move last week, and energy bounced back and finished strongly on Friday. So again, this is end of August, so let's just take a few minutes and review the end of August performances. As you can see, for the month, 1 month, orange juice was the winner, along with cocoa. We've been talking about cocoa since January, I believe. And lean hogs and palladium, coffee, oats, a lot of commodities, as you can see. And New Zealand dollar was up nicely. As far as year to date, we see cocoa up about 400%, orange juice is up 52%, and coffee is about 38%. As far as the Forex or currencies go, I'll use this from the best performing year to date. You can see, well, Bitcoin has been taking a hit, but still for the year, it's still nicely up 37%. For the month, it was down 9%. And after that is British pound yen, and then dollar yen. And this was actually even stronger. In previous months, yen has gotten stronger, as you know. As far as the sectors, this is alphabetically, but let's take a look at for the month, last month, financials were the strongest, and technology was the second strongest, and consumer, defensive, and healthcare. Year to date, every segment or every sector is positive. Our weakest is basic material, But other than that, you see that every sector is doing well. Financials had a nice week, and we will see why, for 2.3%. And technology, on the other hand, because of NVIDIA and others, was down 1%. And so did the consumer cyclicals were down 1%. So again, financial were the strength of the market. As far as year to date, when we look at the best performing industries, utilities, independent power the producers are up 80, almost 83%, and then semiconductors are up 62, computer hardware 35. The worst performing are pharmaceutical retailers. We keep talking about Walgreens of the world, mortgage finances, and airlines. So on S&P, we look at for the 1 month, we see NVIDIA still, even after last week, was up over 9%, but Google down, Amazon down, and Microsoft flat. We had talked about the seasonality for all three of these. So anyway, and Meta was up, Apple was up. And then for the year to date, NVIDIA is still a big leader, second largest now, and market cap second, third. It's just fluctuating, 141%. Microsoft is up 11% year to date, Apple 19%, and then we see Meta is up 47%. So, and then we have Broadcom, the world's, and 46%. On ETFs for the month, it's still S&P and Nasdaq. They all, and Dow Jones, they all did great. And also small caps did very well as well. So it was a positive month for a lot of indices. As far as year to date, you see S&P is up 18%. NASDAQ, it overtaken NASDAQ, is 16, and Dow, not long ago, it was just very low and nice at 10%. As far as worldwide, we see for the month, there's a lot of green, by the way, for the month. Taiwan semiconductors were up almost 9%. We have Royal Ink in Canada up 10%, Shopify 27%, and Core 30%. So there are some good performers. And then for the year to date, you can see there are huge winners around the globe. Last but not least, we've had two segments of the stock of the month. In end of June, we came up with Bristol Myers and Poet. End of July, we came with Lululemon and Twilio. And I just thought if you would have bought them on the time that we spoke about at that same price, it's just not waiting for the bottom or anything. We just as a barometer, the portfolio would have been up 23% since June 22nd or so. And these are individual performers. Bristol Myers still up about 24%. Poet has been the big winner. It's small cap and AI arena, 57%. Twilio in past month is up about 9%, and Lulu is almost 4%. Had a really nice bounce, and then earnings came out, and still is holding up. So we have talked about maybe getting our feet wet a little bit in that. At the same time, the markets since June, they're up average about 4%. NASDAQ is actually down. S&P is up about 3%, and it's the Russell, which is a big winner, small caps, up 10%. All right. I hope that was helpful. This is the end of our segment 1. We will move on to the lesson of the week. All right. Thanks so much.